B-O-R-E-S-H.
Or B-E-R-O-S-H, yeah.
B-E-R-O-S-H.
Yeah.
Good evening. You're on the Smoking Section with Steve Helfer, and tonight we have a ad hoc guest, Johnny Berosh.
Koresh, like I'm David Koresh is my dad. My name Berosh, B-E-R-O-S-H.
B-E-R-O-S-H. Berosh.
Slovak. Both sides of the family are from Slovakia.
And are there any other Beroshes around, or are you pretty...
They're all in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Bridgeport, Connecticut. That's where we all landed. You'll find Beroshes all up and down the phone book in both those. After World War I, all the Slovaks came and created Slovak neighborhoods in those two places.
But not too many in this area, I don't think, Berosh.
No. Fortunately, no. I have full free reign of the greater Boston area.
And you have a show on CCTV, which is once a month, and it's going to be on tonight. Why don't you give it a plug and just tell us a little bit about what it's about?
Thanks a lot, Steve. We're going on at 7:30. It's called Clinical Depression, and it's about we just invite each other to kind of delay our own suicide until the fourth Wednesday every month. The show, we keep it going.
So you got something to live for, as it were.
Yeah, right. Well, we trick ourselves into thinking that, and then the show's been out for 9 months now, and we're all still alive.
And you're pretty happy with the way it's going?
Yeah. We right in front of the camera. You get good at just coming up with anything out of your ass to just...
Well, why did you decide to do a show on that subject?
That's a great question. My wife said, Johnny, there's an opening to do a show down at the, at CCTV, and I was like... she was like, maybe you want to do it on sports, you could do it like on the Patriots and the Red Sox. And I was like, no, I'll just do it on clinical depression. It just popped into my head. I was like, that seems to be,
And there is a fellow who at least was on your show a few times. His name is Matt Crook.
Yes.
Is he no longer a regular guest, or?
Matt, I haven't seen him. He may, I think he's got a girlfriend now, so...
that's too bad.
He got what he wanted. He got on TV.
Oh, really?
The TV show got him a girlfriend.
Wow, really?
Now we don't see him anymore.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Good for him. Good for you, Matt.
He's, because I see him at the Gutman Library a lot, because he does cooking at the cafe, which is located there.
Yes, at Harvard.
That's right, because I am a retiree, and I get to use the libraries unto death.
I didn't know that Matt was associated with a library. I thought it was just it's a snack bar.
No, Gutman Library is kind of a student center at the School of Ed, and he's there, and I sometimes go there, and I see him occasionally.
He's a good man. He will never steer you wrong.
And he's also got a program on ZBC, I think.
He does, called. It's some kind of psychedelic radio
60s
show.
rock, psychedelic.
Yeah.
I guess it's mostly psychedelic, yes.
Right, yes.
Matt, we had, had Johnny, we had Christina on our show, your wife, your lovely wife.
Yep.
And she is an unapologetic smoker.
Absolutely, yeah, that's why I married her.
Because she was an unapologetic smoker?
Right. Right down the line, there's no apology for anything.
Oh, that's a good,
it's refreshing to be around that kind of.
But now you're I don't know, you've lived through, you were probably smoking in the 80s, right?
I began smoking for the first time in 1978.
Okay, and that was, how old were you then?
I was 11.
Oh, okay. Hey, I started smoking when I was 11 too, by the way. So congratulations.
Good for us. Hey.
And once I gave it up for 6 years, and it was interesting because I had expected that I would feel, I'd be able to breathe deeper and food would taste better and I was a better person. And, I didn't realize any of that. in those 6 years?
No, I've quit a couple times. As a matter of fact, when my dad died in 2004, I had my last cigarette at his open casket wake and didn't smoke again till I went a year and 9 months. Figured I've given up smoking forever. He didn't die of cigarettes, but and then speaking of Christina, then her long lost adopted the daughter she gave up for adoption came up for a visit, and then
she gave up a daughter for adoption, and then I think you have a son. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a son together. Yeah,
and he's somewhere. He's in
college
or something.
Jamaica playing music.
He's nearby. Oh, that's nice.
Playing in the band Daphne, great band. So Lindsay, who Christina had given up for adoption in 1984,
right.
Reappeared in our lives, and I took her out for karaoke, and I got totally hammered, and she was smoking, and so like 1 a.m, walking her home, I was stumbling, I was very drunk, and then I said, hey, can you give me a cigarette? And then sure enough, she was drunk, she gave me a cigarette, and I've been smoking steadily since then, since 2004 again. So.
And did you feel any, I meet people who tell me, oh, well, I can't walk up a flight of stairs because I smoke. And then, and they have, I think a lot of this is kind of psychosomatic.
Steve, can I tell you something? Since I'm telling you all my whole life story.
If you don't mind, yeah.
Let me tell you.
Just between you and me.
Yeah, nobody else has to know about this. This is one of the at the core of my family is our great-grandfather, who I just know him as Dadu, which I think is, I think it's a Slovak term of endearment of an elder, Dadu. And Dadu took a bullet in World War I fighting for Slovakia.
Yeah.
And his leg was all messed up. His leg was broken, shattered, whatever. It took him 2 years to heal, and he survived that. And then he gets out, and he had a cane the rest of his life. And then he was known as a walker in Bridgeport, Connecticut. He walked from East Main Street all the way down to the GE, the factory every day. And he smoked. He lived to 87 years old, and he smoked cigarettes. And he drank bourbon every morning. His doctor told him that he had to stop drinking bourbon because it would ruin his stomach, so he started adding milk to the bourbon. Drank bourbon and milk every morning, never stopped smoking. I always saw him smoking cigarettes, and made it to 87 years old. So, if a bullet wasn't going to kill him, a cigarette, give me a break. It didn't kill him.
So that means you are not completely convinced or persuaded, because, for example, we keep hearing, they like to use the term smoking is a lethal habit. Now, I don't know exactly what lethal is, because we all die at some point.
Yeah. So life is lethal, right? It might be for other people, Steve. Yeah. But for my family, it obviously has no effect on us as far as any negative health, concerns. Look at Dadu.
And so you gave up smoking, what did you say, 18 months or so?
Yeah, right, a year and 9 months, 9, 12 plus 9, something like that.
Now, did you notice any improvement in your health?
None.
None whatsoever?
No, I put on 30 pounds.
Oh, really?
I put on 30
You're
pounds.
You're a pretty thin guy, though.
I am. I usually keep my fighting weight is about maybe 175.
You don't look 175 to me, but maybe you're tall.
I was down to 162 after I ran the Philadelphia Marathon.
Is that
and had a cigarette before the marathon, and then as soon as I couldn't wait, that's why I hung in there the whole race. I was like, I got to get back to my cigarettes, and then I got a picture of myself enjoying a cigarette after running the marathon, and so.
It didn't seem to do a lot of lung damage. In other words, in your case.
No, and then cigarettes curb your appetite. So I've been able to keep my weight down. I ballooned up to 210 pounds. I was getting fat, and the only way I was able to lose the weight was start smoking again. And as I mentioned, marathon running while smoking, I think adds style points. It adds. Sort of another degree of style and
it's
challenge.
It's kind of funny When I was in high school, there was a guy who was a long distance runner, cross country. We used to call it cross country. And I heard him tell another person, this is purely anecdotal, but he said, it's funny. I had a cigarette before the race, and he wasn't supposed to smoke. They weren't supposed to smoke because they told him, athletes, and he said it was the best. He got the best time he ever had. So it's just something that kind of stuck in my mind.
Oh yeah, look at all the baseball players smoked throughout, like in the '70s, like Carl Yastrzemski. Mm-hmm. Would you duck into the clubhouse, get a couple drags. It's great for stress. It's really.
Do you think this
calming.
anti-smoking movement is going to be successful? I mean, they envision.
They've brainwashed all the kids. I remember, when I got like my first office job, and I was like in early 30s, and I was working with these kids in their early 20s, and they were like, "You smoke?" Mm-hmm. I was like, "Yeah."
And they were just like dumbfounded.
And I had never come across that kind of attitude. It was all the the brainwashing campaign of smoking.
Well, it's been going on now for about, I would say, I'm a little bit older than you, or a lot older than you. So let me just think. I began smoking in 1958,
oh,
and
right.
you in 78.
Yeah.
So we're both 11. So if I do my arithmetics, that means I'm 20 years older than you.
All right, something like that. Yeah,
I think
okay.
so,
You're
yes.
not 70, are you?
I'm pushing it.
Yeah, I'm turning 50 in a couple months.
Okay, so
look at me.
You look
smoking since I was 11.
But like during
Take a
this,
good look.
I'm looking. You look fine to me, and
So do you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
We're both
that.
thin.
Well, that I've got going for me. That's somewhat a matter of luck, but I think. But the cigarettes help for sure.
They definitely help.
But yeah, and then of course weight is associated with all other kinds of things because especially when baby boomers add weight and then they add the years, they also puts a lot of heaviness on their joints. It's hard on their heart.
Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying. Cigarettes kind of they toughen you up a little bit. Like in the marathon, I can't tell you how. I held back, and then at about mile 22, 23, I just started sprinting by everybody. I passed hundreds of people at the end.
And now,
smoker.
have you ever run the Boston Marathon?
No, because you have to qualify. Like I would have to run like 7.5 minute miles in my age group, which is just.
Oh right. Do you think you could still do the marathon if you wanted to though? I mean, you probably have to train a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, if I could qualify, I'd have to really work at it for a while, and then or you could just you could run it if you raise money for charity.
Oh dear.
And it's
gosh,
like
yeah.
$5,000 minimum, I think, and then if you don't raise that money, then you have to still pay it, and in the name of a charity in order to run the race, and so
Well, let me. So I began smoking in 1958, and when I started smoking, I had already heard, and to a large extent, I believed that smoking was very bad for you and was
even then.
Oh yeah, was associated with lung cancer and that type of
even
stuff.
Back then.
Oh yeah, definitely. As an 11-year-old.
Because they had all the print ads and TV ads, even marketing. Marlboro was marketed to housewives in maybe the 50s, right?
Well, it was marketed just like most products. It was marketed. All of the tobacco ads were on television. That's for sure. When I was a kid, and
because I think they've even been banned from a lot of magazines.
Well, they've been banned from magazines. Well, strictly speaking, they're not banned. It's a voluntary. I believe it's a voluntary on the part of the tobacco companies because. In the United States, we have a very strong First Amendment, and so pretty much you cannot ban any kind of advertising as long as it is truthful. So, for example, if I simply say buy Marlboros and enjoy cigarettes, so I'm not saying. Something that is not truthful. Strictly speaking, on our First Amendment, it's pretty hard to ban it. but I could be wrong by that, but nonetheless, the tobacco companies have been willing to take their ads off the air, just as hard liquor isn't advertised on television. Beer is, but not hard liquor. And that is not, strictly speaking, a ban from the government. Well, I mean, yes. So that's a First Amendment that we have in the United States. The First Amendment protects commercial speech, not to the extent it protects artistic or political speech. So, for example, the Surgeon General can require that cigarette companies put a warning label on their packages, but it would be very hard for the Surgeon General to require them to adopt what is called plain packaging. Are you familiar with plain packaging?
Plain packaging, no.
In a lot of countries of the world, the cigarette are allowed only to be sold in very ugly kind of packages. And the package has to be covered with gruesome photos of diseased lungs that are supposedly caused by cigarette smoking. So, for example, if you went to Australia or New Zealand, I think you would see plain packaging. They tried to introduce that here in the United States, but a federal court held that that's going too far. You can't go that far. That's called compelled speech.
See, it's reminding me now that back in the mid-'80s, I got a motorcycle and a leather jacket, influenced largely by the Camel man.
Oh, right, yeah.
Remember him?
Yes, Joe Camel.
Yeah, he had a motorcycle, he had the leather jacket. Mm-hmm. I think I might have bought a pack of Camels once in a while, but he was a great example of an individual who was unafraid, very just an individual.
Joe Camel, yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure. He was.
He played pool a lot too.
Yes, he played pool. He had like long curly hair and stuff.
And
never
he had a big
smiled.
nose like a camel. Yes.
He did. Yeah.
Well, he was a camel, basically. Yeah.
That's right. Well, that was the cartoon came later.
Yeah.
The cartoon had a very kind of like.
Oh, right. So I don't.
Genitalic kind of.
Well, I mean,
face.
that's what people say. I don't know. I mean, this kind of.
It struck me immediately. It
Is
looked
that right?
like
Okay. All right.
male genitalia.
Right.
Like as the camel's face.
Yes.
Is subliminal advertising.
So he influenced you?
Not the cartoon with the male genitalia face, but the guy, the actual living person who was, who rode the motorcycle and
Oh, there was an advertisement on television or something?
There was a total ad campaign for years, from probably mid-'70s and mid-'80s, of look it up on the Googles, a guy for Camel cigarettes.
And he was a normal-looking person. He wasn't.
Yes, yeah. He kind of rivaled the Marlboro Man. The Marlboro Man was kind of like a timeless kind of cowboy ranch kind of guy.
Right.
But the Camel guy was more like current, up-to-date, rode a motorcycle.
Right.
Not quite urban. He was never seen in an urban setting, but he was always, riding his motorcycle, like, maybe in Wyoming, maybe in it was. You can never tell where he was. That was part of the mystery. But he was always alone.
I missed that campaign.
He was great, and it was a wonderful influence on me. And it was.
Have you ever seen in your lifetime? So let's say you began smoking in 1978. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen in your lifetime, to your recollection, of course, any ad run by the cigarette companies which said that cigarettes were good for you? That you remember?
Well, no, not in my. Well, probably I think the menthol cigarettes, Newports, was always kind of very sociable, very social. Guys and girls in their 20s partying, having fun, doing stuff at the beach, at the club,
like,
and
similar to beer ads, or similar to automobile ads, or similar to. Vacuum ads. They show a woman with a vacuum cleaner in a happy family circumstance.
Right, security.
It's if you're going to advertise a product, you put it into a desirable milieu. You don't,
Yes.
you don't put it into a mental hospital and people are getting
True.
ECT.
Right. You show an example of an integrated, successful, happy person who's using the product.
It's just like CCTV.
Yeah.
CCTV, when they do some kind of promotion, you always see all these smiling faces of a very diverse group of people.
Right.
You don't see like a bunch of depressed.
No, you don't see middle-aged guys who are,
Our elderly guys,
Right. No. They get the kids, smiling
Right.
kids.
So I'm saying, but I'm asking you, if you ever seen in your lifetime, oh, we've got a phone call.
Hey.
Now, we could be a crank call, right?
Probably.
Most of my friends are cranks anyway, so let's go. Oh, I forgot here we go. Here we got a phone call.
How does that work now? You click that?
It's very
that
technologically challenging. You're on the smoking section.
That's all it takes. You just click that
Hi,
button.
Steve.
Yes, how are you?
Good.
This is my friend
I had
Jimmy.
some procedures done, like for my knee, because mechanism after a total knee replacement came loose, and they did they took a quarter of a cup of blood out of me.
That's not a lot. Doesn't sound like
put
it, right?
some kind of nuclear stuff in the blood, and then they re-injected it hours later back into my body. And the next day, I had bone marrow. I'm not complaining. It had to be done.
Okay.
It's a very good hospital.
Yeah.
But,
That's a good attitude, Jimmy.
After that, they did the imagery,
Yeah, what do you call that? MRI?
stuff like that, make sure there's not an infection.
Yeah.
So they did all that. Then they said they had to add even more. So they injected it directly into my vein.
Right.
So I have to admit, all the procedures are worse than smoking, Steve.
Well, thank you.
I have to, because I was sick for like 4 days. I mean, nausea, forgetting conversations. So, I mean, if I was to smoke for that amount of time, that wouldn't have done any damage compared to the nuclear stuff they put in my body.
That sounds scary. I mean,
Yeah, well,
what do you think of what Jimmy's telling us? He's one of my...
Yeah. Well, so Jimmy's not giving up smoking, right?
Well, unfortunately, Jimmy quit smoking a long time ago, I
You
think.
did, Jimmy.
It's
Jimmy,
a
did you
whole
quit
deal.
smoking a long time
But
ago?
I'm not saying they did a bad job
No, I understand.
or anything like that.
I understand
But,
perfectly.
And I couldn't refuse the stuff because it had to show up in my body. That's why they injected it,
Right.
so it would show up on the MRI. But like I said, I feel that all that stuff
Right.
was worse than smoking.
Thank you, Jimmy. We're going to take that and run with it a little bit.
He's a good man.
He was, he's had all these medical procedures, but most people don't realize that, going to hospital is a very dangerous thing.
Oh God, yes.
I mean, you have to go. I mean, you have to go sometimes.
No, you don't. The Slovaks don't go to the doctor.
Well, what happens if your knee is so hurt? Like Jimmy's was probably having a problem with his knee, and they gave him a knee replacement and all that.
Yeah, right. I guess there could be, definitely to be avoided.
If at all, almost at all costs. We're running out of time. I'm going to have one last question I want you to run with, and that is, since 1958, when people could smoke and they could relax,
Yeah.
I don't think, I think our society has lost something over these last years, just relaxing. We could be sitting smoking. There could be clouds of smoke around here.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I immediately think of Humphrey Bogart, the great, embodies the spirit of American kind of masculinity, if you will, and you envision him with a cigarette. He was take his time, take a little time out, contemplate things, have a cigarette. It's
Johnny, let's say goodnight. Thanks for